Yeah,
Okay.
showing up in the corner. It's recording.
Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so here we are. It is February 15th. We were off last week because I was sick. Even so, I've got a pretty short presentation today. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Happy birthday, by the way. I forgot to say.
Thanks.
Happy birthday! Woo, woo, woo,
We're actually celebrating tonight. We're going out for laser tag.
Oh.
woo.
That sounds
Okay, so most of what I've been doing has been flying the DJI Mavic 2. We'll talk about the spots here in a second, but one of the things that I got some advice on was that if you're flying near a sensitive area, then DJI is sort of babysits you a little bit and requires you to swear that you have permission to fly there. A lot easier to do that before you go out. So friendly advice, if you're flying anywhere near an airport, get that taken care of on the website before you go.
Interesting.
Okay, so most of what I've been doing has been flying the one of the trees that's nearby. So this is the partnership project with the CGIT. They've got a tree they're interested in scanning for whatever reason. I think I presented on this a couple of times, but we ended up flying it on February 2nd together. So I flew it. CGIT was there. I wasn't really happy with how it turned out, so I went back on the 4th and flew it again, and then stopped by on the 5th and took some pictures on the ground with my smartphone. I'm still not super happy with the reconstructions. They seem a little, in fact, I should have just done this from the side because there's really no value from doing it from the top. But you can see that the reconstruction from the tree turned out okay. You can really see branches and stuff. It looks a little bit more tree-like. It's still pretty messy. There were still some leaves on the tree, so it does, some of what you're seeing down there at the bottom is real. But it's obvious. You can kind of see it's an okay reconstruction, but it's not great. I've gotten pretty good at flying it though, so I'm getting quite a bit more familiar with how the Mavic flies. As I've said, the thing flies great, but the mission programming is a little bit weird. So the autonomous modes are just different than what I've been used to. So I'm still kind of learning how that goes, but getting better at it. So far, all of the days that we've flown have been sunny. I would like to get out there on a cloudy day and fly it again, see if that helps, make the imagery a little bit sharper, better contrast, but we'll see. The weirdest thing though that's been happening, and Ariel, I'm curious if this has happened to you, is that before I've been complaining about the altitude tags and how they're wrong. Here I was getting latitude, longitude wrong. And in a really strange way. I've never seen this before, so I was actually flying at a place that's kind of where the blue dot is at the top. When I loaded it into Pix4D, it thought I was at the red spots down at the bottom right, which is about 1.6 miles away.
No, I haven't had any XY or longitude and latitude problems. I'm just having the altitude problems. So
yeah.
I've been matching because I actually reference everything to my initial shape files from that we've made in ArcGIS. So I match them through there. So my locations have been on pretty good. I'm getting maybe about a meter or two lag between the LiDAR position and the Pix4D position, but nothing that major at all.
Huh.
Just a GPS calibration issue, maybe?
That's what I'm thinking.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, though.
That is.
Anyway,
that is really weird.
I don't have a good explanation for that, but I guess I would just say, keep an eye on them. Maybe it's just a one-time fluke. I have noticed that it starts out in optical mode, and it takes a little while for it to go on GPS mode. So, Lily, when we used to fly the drone in Mexico, there was the LED lights would tell you when you got a good GPS fix and you couldn't take off until you until it got a good fix. But the Mavic basically is ready to fly like the second you turn it on, but it's in optical mode. And so I think maybe one of the things to kind of keep an eye on is like give it a minute before you launch to make sure that the GPS mode is kind of locked in properly. So maybe that's what had happened, but I don't know. And then the last thing that I've been up to, I met with Doug Wallace at NIU. We're collaborating on a human wayfinding study. So his grad students are mostly leading it, and I'm kind of consulting. But the study got sent up for IRB approval, which is good. The questions include the Santa Barbara Sense of Direction scale, of which a few things are here at Wright. So when I was at Santa Barbara, the people that I worked with had developed this. It's basically a 15-question questionnaire that gets at people's outdoor navigation ability, so whether they get lost easily and things like that. It's kind of pretty widely used these days. The binge drinking is kind of a funny one because Doug Wallace's research is he's kind of interested in that, and has found that binge drinking affects Dead Reckoning performance on certain kinds of like navigation tasks. So he's looking to see if it's going to show up here. He's got an app on a tablet that basically kind of replicates some of the stuff that I had done during my PhD dissertation. But the idea is you sort of start out on this tablet, and then you kind of hunt around for this like invisible marker. When it gets there, it like plays a sound. No, it tells you one way or another. And then you've got to like drag your finger back to the start point. And what he's interested in is how well you drag your finger back to the start point. So people with good spatial abilities should be able to head back with fewer heading errors and fewer direction errors, heading errors and distance errors. So we'll see if the tablet thing kind of works. And then the route asymmetry stuff that I was talking about before. And that's kind of coming along pretty well. So the idea there is they ask you to go from point A to point B, and then you go from B to A, and they kind of can compare how you went both ways. And the idea is that, you know, there are going to be some interesting differences, and hopefully that sheds light on navigation. So that's the gist. I was sick last week, and I've been pretty busy. So I don't even really remember what the goals have been. But everybody knows how that goes sometimes. The RU manuscript is obviously still the main thing. So Lily and I talked a couple weeks ago, and you're going to wait a little bit on your section to get that in. And this is a good time to let you know that everybody's running behind on their sections, Lily. So
okay, that makes me feel better, I guess.
The big thing that's actually holding me back on the RU is so we had basically taken 2 ground control points with an RTK GPS unit, and my assertion was that you could use just one of these RTK GPS units to correct for position, at least within the tolerance of what we cared about measuring. Usually there would be like a handful, like let's say 6 ground control points to try to dial in the error. But the only thing that's kind of contrary to my idea here is that if the point cloud gets reconstructed in kind of a tilted way, which is actually pretty unusual with the GPS units that we've been using, but with the Mavic, it kind of comes up a lot. Ones that we use, like there could be some tilt, and so I need to kind of make a good argument about how much tilt there is in there, which is tough because we didn't actually measure tilt. If we had placed 6 RTK GPS units, we could just measure the tilt. But since we can't do that, I'm going to have to maybe compare the reconstruction to like satellite elevations. I also thought I might be able to do like a simulation. So the idea would be to take one of the drone GPS units and run it continuously for a few days, and then to basically use that GPS to create an error profile. Like a simulated error profile, and then you could like make these kind of pretend routes that you would fly and sort of see how the error stacked up and see how that works. I don't know, probably not describing that very well. But I think that there's a way to do it with just simulation. I don't know whether reviewers are going to go for that or not. I think it'd be better if we had measured them, but like it's, we can't go back in time and do it now. So
Right.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's been the kind of thing that's been slowing me down, sort of agonizing over how to solve that problem. And then my goal for next week is to put in a small grant for an NVIDIA graphics card. So NVIDIA has like a deep learning research wing, and they give grants of pretty high-end graphics cards, so $5,000 or $10,000 graphics cards.
What?
Yeah, professors only. Sorry. And they're really clear about that. And then I've got to email NGA, one of the program officers there, for some of the work. We've got a couple of applicants to the lab. Some of you got to meet Jack last week or 2 weeks ago, and then there's another one. And those are the only two that I know about that have applied to work with me. But we'll know more about that in the next couple of weeks. So, okay, that's it for me.
All right. Listen, that having people apply to work with them. Woohoo!
I was actually able to get Jack connected with Sharif this week also, who's doing that Bangladesh project. So hopefully.
Wait, say that again, Riley?
So I was able to get Jack connected with Sharif, the PhD student working on that Bangladesh project also. So
Oh, sweet, thanks.
hopefully that helps him out.
Yeah.
All
All right, so I'm gonna stop my share.
right. Let me pop mine in there then. Let's go back to one. That's right. Come on, you sharing? Where'd he go? Did I just lose you guys, or?
No, you're still here.
I see it.
Huh.
My video. I'm switching my video to my near camera.
Okay, so share my screen. Okay. Are we seeing it?
Yep.
Okay, it's my lab report for February 15th, 2019. Keywords this week are going to be thesis, point clouds, and graduation. Like Dr. Pingle, I also wound up getting sick this last week, so I've been out of commission for the last several days. Literally, I left here on Tuesday night, got home, and pretty much slept on my couch in my living room the entire afternoon. And got in bed and really didn't do much else besides taking my kids to school and back for the next couple of days. So, yeah. Okay, so my goals were for field sampling some trees for the thesis data, finish my leaf on and leaf off extraction, and working on the thesis.
Those are some sweet icons.
I was just thinking the same thing.
This was an auto-suggestion, the design. Wow, this is going to really pop it.
It does.
I was like, wow, that's cool. So I ran with it. That's a cool thing, but yeah. First things first, happy birthday, Tom. Happy
Oh, thanks.
Woo! That was supposed to be a gift, but I just never seem to embed those well. Putting and everything. So, okay, moving on. For point clouds, like I said before, my leaf on is complete. I have measured every point in the data set. And after digging through them, out of the 1,024 points, there are 921 that have non-zero or excluded, non-excluded values. So that's, I lost more than I want, but I think with some of the stuff I'm working on, I should be able to maybe bring in like another 30 or 40. I'll get to that in a second, why that's going to be. For leaf off, I have been able to get 991 points measured. Total values that are non-zero or non-excluded are 742, which is a big drop, but if you look in the image, the black ones are ones that were put as our no values or non-values. Reds are values I have not been able to extract yet because I'll talk about that in a second. And yellow values are good values that actually have decent point values. So I have 3 of the sections completely done. There is that one section of the nulls that still has a couple pieces missing. For diameter at breast height, which was the bane of my existence for basically the last 2 weeks, I did manage to get 959 readings out of it, or 959 points that I have investigated and tried to get readings out of. The 3 main sections, the Historic North, Historic South, and the Kensington Point are completely done. The Knolls is not, because there's the same problem that I'm going to discuss in a second. But out of those, we were able to get 545 value totals out of that. So it's about half. I know Dr. Pingle and I had been talking about how good of a return we're going to get out of that. So it's about half, not as much as I was hoping to get. But after seeing some of the problems and some of the hassles, it actually came out a lot better than I could have feared. Now, what I was talking about before is there was one section, my leaf off nulls section. Basically, the files must have been corrupted when they did the lab clean out, because that was actually when they went to work on or disconnect stuff. So it did not process that time. I went ahead and tried to reprocess that entire batch. So after about 5 days of processing, it gave me this nice little failed error, which is about the same place that the original processing wound up having their shut off. So at some point in the writing out section, something in the PIX file got corrupted, so it will not let it write out. So what I did was I went ahead and instead of rerunning the entire large one again, I reran from stage 1 to stage 2 of the individual themselves. So I figured that actually runs a lot faster, a lot less time. Instead of 5 days for a process, well, for the second stage process alone, I was able to get both stage 1 and stage 2 of each of the processes within like a day and a half to 2 days at most. So that actually went well. Those finished running over the weekend. I have not had a chance to really do too much, but I did start digging out some of the other data, which hopefully will be in this weekend. So it seemed to work well. I did run the buffers and pulled out the buffers. The resolution is not as high as with the merged images, but they are still really good. So I was kind of pleased with that. I forgot to put a picture of them in here. I was going to stick one of those in there. Okay, so that's where I'm going with that. I did do a new method of DBH collection, the diameter breast height. Instead of doing the individual one after another method we were working on, I've started doing group processing. There's a little video in here. I'll talk over it while it's running. You can run? Yeah, let's see. Is it running? It's a little bit long one, so. Yeah, so basically what I was doing was I was looking for groups of trees that were basically either on the same plane or the same incline that I could actually create a bottom for them. So I never noticed it was laid like that. Okay, so I'd actually grab a group, bring it in, slowly move it in, and then I would try and clip it to the very bottom of the ground level. Let's see, it's running too slow. Come on, there we go. So my method is finding a ground level for these points. Come on. And for those of you that worked with Cloud Compare, you know sometimes it's a little laggy. So Yeah. First thing is to try and remove everything below it so I can get a full range on my scalar field. So these ones I'm able to set the bottom limit first, and then I'll actually it's not showing the scale up here. Normally there's numbers in the corner that are showing how thick it is. So I'll pause it here for a second. So right now what I was actually doing was I was setting by bringing up the bottom, I'm setting that to my 0 height. So I'm using that as my ground level measurement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm collapsing the top height down to about, would be about 2.5 to 3 meters above my lower point. As you can tell how large your box is in Cloud Compare. So now I've got a box that's about 2.5 to 3 meters tall. And then I'm actually bringing up the bottom layer up to where it should be about a little bit more than a meter. So I'm getting about 1 meter to 1.5 meters squished area. And then that's what I was using to make my, so as you see here, now I've got this little subset section that should include the parameters of DBH. So I'm getting about 1.3 to about 2.3 meters. So now when I actually scale those out, you get a real good picture of the subsection. And then let's see, he's going to zoom in a little bit more. Let's jump ahead. Let's see. So here is one of them. I'm just going to zoom through this. And this is what I'm typically getting. I'm not normally getting those nice, pretty round trunks. But due to the interference, I'm usually getting this weird sort of triangular shape. I don't know whether it's just that's where the image facets are, but I got that a lot in a lot of my images. So then by basically going back and forth between a RGB full-size image and the slice, I'm able to locate where the diameter of the trunk should be. But it doesn't always work as well. So like you see in there, that's, oh, hey, now I got some numbers up. Well, of course, you can't see them, but. So you've seen a blow up of that part, the extraction portion of it. So, all right, so yeah. And this was able to speed up the process a lot. Instead of spending 4 or 5 minutes trying to extract an individual tree, I could spend about 5 minutes and batch out half dozen to a dozen at a time. And then spending the 2 to 3 minutes on each tree just moving in like that. Actually, it really did a number on the time. It really decreased the time very much. Okay. So, just a little method. I think it worked very well. I got to write that up still, the new process. Okay.
I think I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't worry about putting that into your methods section. Okay. This is the kind of, so a methods section needs to be detailed enough that somebody can kind of replicate your results. But there's also such a thing as like too much detail. So if you add a lot of detail in there that isn't going to make a lot of sense to people as they read it, then it's ultimately just going to kind of confuse things. So this seems more detailed than somebody would need to know.
Okay, something for maybe like the appendices if I decide to put something in there, maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. It's a detail enough that no one, it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, that works then. Then
you should have a general description of how you measured a tree, and I should review that. So we should make that a goal over the next couple of days. Okay. But keep it generalized enough detail that somebody who knew Cloud Compare and LiDAR could go in there and replicate it, but not any more detailed than that.
All right, that sounds good then. Okay.
Write it for like me.
Okay. Then graduation. I have applied for graduation.
Cool.
It's
congratulations.
It's officially in the system. They haven't rejected me yet. They've charged me my $35 for the application, so I know it's in the system.
Congrats, bro.
So that's 12 weeks from now for me and Lily. Woo-hoo!
Congratulations.
12 weeks. I actually had a countdown clock. I have a countdown clock on my computer at home running now. One of those free things. It's like I'm watching the time pass.
For those of you who don't know, that still there is from a movie called Back to School, which is fantastic.
Thank you. At least you got that. I was like, hey.
To give it a watch.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's not quite politically correct for the time, but amusing. Okay, and then so did some moving around on my timeline. Things that I were able to get done. My manual tree data extraction, pretty much, except for some minor points I'm gonna be checking on, is well done. I did get out and do some more flights last week. So I cut those out in my last one. I forgot to upload that. So I did do some more low-level flights. Those are processing now. I had one that finished. I hadn't started looking at the data yet for it, but instead of my 80-meter heights, I've been flying these lower, like 50 meters. I was thinking about going a little bit lower, but some of the trees are getting up to like 25, 26 meters. So I was
yeah, that's fine.
Not getting any lower than that. I haven't gotten into it, but the rough data looks pretty good.
So I think this is a little specific, but we haven't had a chance to talk individually, Earl. Do you think all of your measurements, including the stuff that you're rerunning that got messed up when the lab got shut down, and the low-level flights that you just did, will you be able to measure everything by the end of day Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a small batch. It's only about maybe 50 trees that's really in that batch. There's a couple that were on the perimeter that I'll double check just because they weren't very well visualized. But yeah.
Okay.
Within the range of my doability, I guess.
And then you've gotten all of the diameters, right? Hand measurement.
Yep.
And have you done the hand tree heights yet with the hypsometer?
I'm doing that after colloquium today.
Sweet. Okay. So yeah, shoot for having all of your data measured by the end of Monday.
That sounds good. I think that's. I would have had that done, but I spent the last couple days in bed, so that really kind of threw everything off. So we have set a date for my thesis to be into my committee, which is in 1 month from today. Or actually, 1 month from today. We're going to try and shoot for my thesis defense on March 29th. That is so far agreeable with all of my committee. I've got to go down and make sure I can get a reservation for the room when we decide on the time of that. I think Lily's trying to do sometime around there also.
Well, it has to be in a specific room?
No, we're just doing the conference room usually so people can.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're going to hide. You're like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll pack everybody into that room.
Do you guys still have to do colloquium presentation also? So what's the current status on like doing a defense and a colloquium and a conference?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The colloquium is supposed to be about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or whatever. Summary presentation, in-depth committee presentation, and then whatever at the conference.
Yeah.
So on that conference, the Illinois Geographic Society annual meeting has officially started their request for presentations. So I'm putting mine together for that. Cool. And that's going to be out in Dubuque, Iowa.
I'm doing a poster for AAG, so if you want to stop by, I'll be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and
Riley, are you going to AAG?
I am. I'm giving a presentation, actually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're giving a presentation. Ha. I'm on that one.
Oh, yeah, you are on it. That's right.
Well, I'm not going, but I'm going to be part of the poster for Dr. Wilson. Woohoo!
Oh, cool.
He's giving us a co-authorship on that one, so I'm like, yay!
Your name will be there, Nate.
So that's about what's going on right now. So that would be the end of it. So I pretty much was able to hit my goals, really. I got most of the field samples done. I got a couple more I'm going to do with the hypsometer today. I got my leaf on was finished. My thesis writing is working. So finish those field samples. Maybe do 1 or 2 more low-level flights if it actually makes a difference. And write in the thesis. So that is me. Oh, shoot, what time is it? Yep, I still have 20 minutes. Excellent. So let's stop my share.
Nice.
There we go.
Cool. Thanks, Rob. Riley, are you presenting today?
Yes, sir.
All
I
right.
don't have much, but let's see. Get the screen share going here. I got double monitors, so let's.
Oh, monitors, yes.
That's nice.
Dr.
While you're writing.
Panoramic monitor. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yep, we're good.
Being a little slow. Bear with me.
Where's your cool icons, Riley?
I was gonna say, you're making me look bad today, Earl.
No, wait. She's talking shit. She doesn't even have a presentation. So,
Seriously. Eagle Slides is taking a minute. Let's see. If not, we can just do it on this. All right, here we go. Loading. All right, so it's February 15th. This is my Near Earth Imaging Lab update. This week, I was able to receive some 3DEP LiDAR data from the USGS. I have a family friend in NOAA that actually forwarded this to me, but I read an article this week that it's all available publicly now.
Oh, really?
oh,
Yeah.
Sorry to interject. On that, the link that was posted with the 3DEP information, that's hosted by a company called Hobo, which is actually a guy named Howard Butler that I've run into several times at conferences. I actually saw him out at Denver 2 weeks ago. And they entwine his online interface for LiDAR data visualization, which is what that's hosted on. He's been giving presentations on that, and he had been saying there was something really big coming down the pipeline, but he couldn't say anything about it yet. And so I guess posting all of the USGS 3DEP online was his big boom. So
Oh, wow.
it's really cool. I've got a lot of his source code here. And the best thing of all is he has one of Dr. Pingle's algorithm embedded in his code for visualization.
On the visualization side too? Oh, cool.
Nice.
It's a Smurf running in there. So yeah.
Yeah. I got to test that out. I've been wondering if he implemented the interpolation or not. So I gotta dig in there. I have a suspicion that probably he used something else for for an interpolator that probably shouldn't be used. But I gotta go in. I just reviewed a paper on that, well, anyway, that's a story for another time. I'm excited that it's in there.
That's all right. I'm
So
excited as well.
so when they shipped the LiDAR data to you, how did you get it, Riley?
I got it in a Google Drive,
Okay.
and it was in .laz format. And so I've kind of done a little bit of toying this week. I probably spent an hour trying to sit there and convert it over to LAS using LAS tools. I received an error, and I should have screenshotted the exact error, but it was something like only 8,000 points out of 500 million or something were plotted per file. And so something wasn't right. So I'll maybe need to sit down with you or see if we can figure that out one way or another.
Yeah. Let's do that.
But
The conversion, you shouldn't necessarily need to convert them,
Okay.
depending on how you're planning on doing the processing. But LAZ is a nice format. You really shouldn't need
Oh,
to.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it was just a compressed version of LAS, but
Yeah. So when they came up with LAS, there were a lot of different point cloud data formats, and LAS is the one that the ASPRS came up with. And it's a fine format, but since that time, they've kind of come up with a way to encode LiDAR data that's a little bit more space friendly, because LAS files can get kind of big. So Martin Eisenberg's LAZ format is like a better version of LAS. It just, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a better fit.
Okay, so maybe to view those files, should I be using Cloud Compare then versus ArcGIS? Yep. Okay, that was my problem.
Yeah, you should be using Cloud Compare. So that would be one reason to switch to LAS, would be if you want to bring this stuff into Arc, because Esri doesn't read LAZ. Okay. Yeah, that's. Sorry, go ahead, Earl.
I was just thinking, I thought I saw something in there. I know you can actually implement the LAS tools in Arc. I know there is a plugin, so you can actually use the LAS tools to import it, and then it should decompress it for you. I haven't played around with it too much, but I know that there is some sort of a plugin that lets you sync between the two of them.
Yeah, Dustin used that pretty extensively. It'll let you process the data, but it won't let you visualize the data.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, it would be interesting to see it in Cloud Compare, and I think the LAS tools actually had a preview that you could view it.
Yeah.
Couldn't navigate very well, but I'm excited to see what that entails.
Yeah, LAS view kind of sucks, but yeah, I would try Cloud Compare. How big is the data?
You know, I think it was 6 files. I want to say a gigabyte each, maybe. Or
okay, is that figure accurate? 500 million?
That's huge.
I just kind of wrote that number, so probably not. I wish I would have screenshotted it so you knew exactly, but okay. But I'll try it again.
Let's make a plan to go over that stuff next week. Okay.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Too bad.
So yeah, this week just been working on coursework and annotating journal articles for my independent study. I was gonna present one today, but maybe I'll save that for next week. And next week, I'd like to set up a time with you, Dr. Pingle, to see if we can get up and fly White Top Mountain before Leaf On.
Sure.
I know we're halfway through February already. The semester's flying by.
Oh, yeah.
Also working on a graduate research development proposal, just getting that submitted this semester. My advisor recommended that even if we don't need funding right now, we should go ahead and apply so that we can say we did.
Yeah.
So I've got material from last semester, so it shouldn't be too much of a task. This week I've worked on getting a pool proposal ready. That's a departmental fund, something also to apply to. And my advisor seems to think she can get some money from a source to purchase something in relation to our research. So maybe we can talk about things that might be useful for our lab.
Yeah.
So next week, more annotations, more journal articles. I'm trying to kind of develop my drone terminology and understanding of the use of these softwares and algorithms and such. You know, not coming from a very technical background, I think that reading is important for me. And alas, to schedule a time to take my Part 107. I've kind of been putting that off, but I figure I'll take your strategy, Dr. Pingle, and just set a date and force myself to do it. So.
That's the best way.
It's not bad, trust me.
Well, and with me, my airport now, we have finally, they said that there's, well, who knows, but that now if there's not supposed to be another shutdown, my airport around me should be opening back up for taking the test again. So okay. I'm supposed to hear from them Monday. They were waiting till after this weekend to try and schedule something. And then also, Riley, since I've been doing a lot of drone work with trees, I've got a bunch of articles on drone work and biogeography. So some of those, or yeah, I can kick some of those, or we can share my my article folder with you. So there's a ton of stuff in there that's really good about seeing how they use it.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could.
Yep.
Yeah, if you could zip those up, Earl, and post them onto Slack.
Okay.
Or maybe host them on Google Drive or something and post a link to Slack.
Yep, I can do that. Not a problem.
Riley, as you're studying for the 107, I sent a link to Earl for my study stuff, which comes from like Remote Pilot 101.
Really good.
Let me send an email and I'll send you the login information for that, and you can use that.
Oh, okay, great. I
What are you
appreciate
doing with White Top Mountain? So I actually didn't ask you about what you're doing. So.
Yeah. So we're looking at a southern Appalachian bald, which is a sensitive grassland ecosystem that exists on top of this mountain. And there's speculation as to why the bald's there. It's below the climatic tree line, so it should be forested, but it's, so there's various reasons that researchers have looked at for that. But regardless, it's sort of a little island for all sorts of endangered and threatened species. So as there's with a lack of historical disturbances up there, trees are starting to encroach into this grassland and potentially threaten some of those species. So we're looking to see if we can use various products, satellite imagery, maybe just 3D DEP LiDAR, and calibrate it with imagery we take with drones to try to understand spatio-temporal distribution of the forest around it. Project still, I'm still kind of figuring out where the direction we're going to take it exactly. I think it could entail a lot just for a master's thesis, but I'm going to kind of try to keep it narrow and focused so it's attainable.
For AAG.
For AAG, well, yeah, especially for AAG. And so originally it was supposed to be a graduate student lightning methods round or session.
Okay.
I got an email and they said, we didn't have enough participants, so would you mind giving a 15-minute presentation
Oh.
on my methods that are currently, still in development. So definitely gotta get a leg up on that and make something happen, especially because Dr. Pingle's name's on it,
Well, we should definitely fly it and at least get some data. That'd make some nice eye candy for the presentation, just to be able to show the drone reconstruction.
Definitely. So cool. Maybe we can get together next week and talk about some of that, and also the LiDAR.
Yeah. How are your Wednesdays?
Wednesdays are good. Only thing I have is a 4:00 TA responsibility, so I can come in.
Yeah, let's maybe shoot for Wednesday. That'll be pretty good.
Okay.
Or yeah.
That's all I got.
All right. Thanks.
Thank y'all.
Oh.
Yeah.